This story is called the Campanion of the Cave and features Abu Bakr RA. Abu Bakr, who was to become the best friend and the companion of the Prophet, was born in Mecca. He was 3 years younger than the Prophet, and they both used to play together as children. As a child, the Prophet was very fond of his younger playmate. Soon they became good friends and spent lots of time together. Over the years, their friendship grew stronger and stronger, and Abu Bakr remained the Prophet's closest companion till the end of his life. Abu Bakr was known far and wide for his good character. He was honest and truthful, as well as hardworking and fair in his dealings. He was extremely kind to all around him and always ready to help the poor and the sick. He was also very intelligent, and his memory was legendary. His knowledge of family histories going back for generations was amazing. This was something which was highly valued by the Arabs. When the Prophet Muhammad began to receive the revelations, Abu Bakr was the first person to believe in him after Khadija, the Prophet's wife. He believed in the truth of the Prophet's message and without any hesitation converted to Islam, the religion of peace. Abu Bakr was a very straightforward man. He did not want to hide his beliefs. So from the very beginning, he made no secret of his conversion to Islam and his loyalty to the Prophet. Rather, he persuaded many influential and wealthy people of Mecca, such as Uthman bin Affan, Abdurrahman bin Auf, Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas, and others to do so as well. All of these men were highly regarded by the townspeople and proved to be a great asset to Islam. When the Prophet received his first revelation in the Quran, Abu Bakr was already a rich and well-known merchant. He was ready to spend money for a good cause, and once he became a Muslim, he would purchase and set free slaves who had accepted Islam and were being persecuted and tortured by their owners. When the Prophet told the people about his mirage, or the night journey, they ridiculed him, but Abu Bakr did not doubt the Prophet even for a moment. He said, "I have never heard the Prophet Muhammad tell a lie. I believe in everything he says." Thus he earned the title of Al-Siddiq, or the Truthful. By and by, when the persecution in Mecca became intolerable, the Muslims started migrating in batches. First to Abyssinia and later on to Medina. The Prophet encouraged this migration. When all the Muslims, except for the Prophet and his 2 close companions, Abu Bakr and Ali, had left for Medina, Abu Bakr asked the Prophet to let him go to Medina as well. But the Prophet replied, "Don't be in such a hurry. Do you want to go alone? Wait, Allah Ta'ala might give you a traveling companion." Abu Bakr understood that he must wait for the Prophet and that the day of leaving Mecca was coming near. Secretly, he began to plan for the dangerous journey. He chose 2 of his best camels and started to feed them well so that they would be ready for the long trek in the desert. His daughter Asma helped him pack the food and water they would need on the way. Meanwhile, the Quraysh were plotting to put an end to the Prophet's life. Allah the All-Knowing let the Prophet know of their wicked designs and instructed him to leave Mecca. Upon receiving the divine commandment, the Prophet went immediately to Abu Bakr's house, though it was noon. The very time of visit was very unusual, for the Prophet never visited Abu Bakr's house at that hour. Abu Bakr immediately understood that something important must have happened. And indeed, the Prophet told Abu Bakr in secret, "Allah has commanded me to leave." So they made final preparations for the journey. That night, the leaders of Quraysh were planning to attack and kill the Prophet. The Prophet asked his young cousin Ali to lie down on his bed and wrap himself up in the cloak the Prophet usually wore. Meanwhile, under the cover of darkness, the Prophet quietly came out of his house and went to the house of Abu Bakr. Together they left for Medina. Wisely, the Prophet and Abu Bakr did not go straight north directly to Medina. Instead, they took a longer roundabout route to confuse possible pursuers. They knew that Meccans would be searching for them, and to start with, they would send their people to check their direct route to Medina. So the Prophet and Abu Bakr went south, following the route to Yemen, and stopped at a mountain a short distance from Mecca. There was a cave called Thar, and that was where they hid. The Prophet and Abu Bakr stayed in the cave for 3 nights and 3 days. Every night, Abu Bakr's son Abdullah would come to meet them. He brought them news of what was happening in the city. He told them, "The Quraysh of Mecca are very angry. They think the Prophet had hoodwinked them, so they are looking for the Prophet everywhere. They have sent search parties in all directions. They have even offered a reward of 100 camels to the person who captures the Prophet." One day the Prophet and Abu Bakr heard some voices, then sounds of steps approaching them. It was the Quraysh search party looking for them. Abu Bakr was overcome with fear. He thought, "We will be discovered at any time now." But the Prophet, as if reading his thoughts, said, "Do not worry, Allah is with us." Then he asked, "Do you really think anything would happen to two people who have Allah as their third companion?" Meanwhile, the men looked around and moved away. Nobody had bothered to look into the cave. When the sound of retreating steps and voices had died down, Abu Bakr and the Prophet went to the opening of the cave. Offering thanks to Allah, the Prophet and Abu Bakr breathed a sigh of relief, but they remained in the cave for yet a while. When it was safe, they left the cave and with Allah's help reached Medina.